I get computers putin'. Y'all get shot at, call me, I do the shooting. I do the recruiting, I tutor the students. I nurture their brain, I'm moving the movement. Whoever Buddha's a Buddha, that's Judas a Judah. I got Luga to Ruga, hit from Ruda to Tutor, chick from Huda to Huda. I put two in producers, I'm the real ball story, the loser Hoosiers. I rock mostly docile, I roll.
Buy this car to drive to work to pay for this car. Buy this car to drive to work to work.
Welcome to Yellow Brick Road. I am Jordan, and today we're gonna play a little, well, not a game, but play a little like mind thought. What's the word? Thought experiment here with two hypotheticals. This is not going to be so analytical in regards to the actual situation of the two embassy workers being shot and killed. It's going to be more so of a kind of a thought experiment thing to kind of showcase where I stand. Not that it's that important, but, you know, I want to say it anyways. And it's my channel, so fuck off. Anyways, before I get started, don't forget to share, support, hopefully donate to all the links in the description box. Check them out, read them, share them, then donate. Thank you. It's for charity, guys. So, if you want to support, please check out the links. Pause. Alright, so obviously everyone knows about the two Israeli embassy workers that were shot and killed outside of a Jewish museum in D.C. I think it's around the capital. And there's been a lot of narratives and stories. Some people saying false flag. Some people just asking questions, which is always healthy, whether it's a false flag or not. Or people that are focusing more on the narratives that happen afterwards, which is somewhere where I'm probably going to be going right now. It's horrendous either way you look at it. It does not help Palestinians to go out and shoot and kill people that are walking down the street or, you know, in civilian life somewhere. And it doesn't help. It definitely does not help Jewish people in America or Israelis, like innocent Israelis, does not help them at all with some of the narratives that are being spun out of this. Now, where I'm going to go with my video is somewhat about the narratives in regards to, I guess, Israelis and the things that are happening in Gaza, the blatant genocide that's happening. I mean, blatant, clear as day. And I'm going to look at this in two ways. Like, here's someone, once again, hypothetically speaking, as like a thought experiment. Let's say we believe this guy and take him at face value. Like, we just accept that this guy is this. Right? This guy on screen right now. And then you're going to hear someone saying something similar, but I feel like you can tell a difference between someone who maybe feels something and come to the same conclusion as someone who's full of shit. And they're just using it to spark a narrative. Right? I don't know this guy. He could be full of shit. This guy could be full of shit. Who knows? I think his name's Jonathan Epstein. He's a witness, I believe. And once again, I'm not telling anyone to believe him or anything like that. What I'm saying is, if I take him at face value, and you'll see like the physical, emotional reactions to this thing, his conclusion is going to be very similar to someone who... very similar to someone who most people, including myself, would call full of shit. Doesn't actually care about these people, and will use the death of two innocent people as they would use that as a narrative to get people to pick their side, versus someone who's just emotionally reacting. You know, a kid who's hurt and closes their eyes and starts swinging punches everywhere because they're hurt, because their feelings are hurt. Right? But let's hear him out here first, and I think you'll see what I mean. Once again, you do not have to believe him. I'm not even saying I believe. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know him. But once again, I'm taking it at face value for the sake of the thought experiment. If this guy actually means what he says, all right, and he's actually emotionally hurt by the scenario or genuinely scared, let's consider that. Let's hit play. Here we go.
As you go forward, with what you have seen, can you give us any sense, because you said you looked the shooter in the eyes, can you give us any sense of what you saw in him as he was sort of getting help and people were tending to him as if he too was a victim of seeing this?
Yeah, to be clear, I heard about that part because we were in a secure room when he initially walked in. I just saw him screaming and then being handcuffed. But what I saw in his eyes, I mean, I went to Columbia for grad school, and I saw the same thing in his eyes as I saw in the eyes of all the protesters at Columbia. Nothing different between him and them.
But they did not.
Like, very awkward, straight to the point, almost scared sounding a bit, right? He's like, oh, fuck, I'm on CNN, maybe a little bit there. But, yeah, like he's, once again, this is why I bring up this idea of, like, when something happens, something tragic happens, right? And there's a victim. And then you bring in the victim's family, and these guys, we've seen this before, right? Where someone's like, they kill them, electric chair, lethal injection, like death row, put him on that shit. Kill this guy. He harmed, the closest people to me. People even do that with strangers, right? If someone does something considered bad enough, people be like, oh, kill that guy. Fucking execute him. And that's why, sometimes I'll say, there's a reason why maybe, people closest to the case should not be judge, jury, and executioner of a situation. Even though this guy, once again, he's seeing strangers, as far as I understand. They're calling him a witness, but no one said anything about him knowing them or related to them or anything like that. So, right, but he still emotionally recognizes with them, like, oh, look, this is what they're doing to Jewish people. This is what they're doing, and I went to Columbia, and this is what they see. This is what's in their eyes. And it's like, are you sure you're not seeing red, bud? Are you sure you're not in that emotionally child state where you're hurt and you don't know what to do, so you close your eyes and you swing your fists and hope you hit something to alleviate whatever fear or whatever the fuck you feel in your head, in your mind, and in your heart? Right? Once again, all right, let's keep playing though.
Not create this horrific shooting. They did not, they didn't shoot.
They gave permission. They gave the permission.
That's not true at all, but once again, I'm taking it at face value. Once again, this guy could be a plant, he could be a setup. I don't fucking know. All right? I'm giving him full agency as a human being to do whatever the fuck, be himself, right? Or, behave the way he wants to behave. This guy could be full of shit for all I know. I'm taking it at face value, and I could see someone so emotionally distressed because, let's be real, not everyone's a hardened person. All right? Let's be real. The savages of planet Earth, that's a dying art, bro. It's just a dying archetype, seemingly, of the hardened people, men or women. They're hardened personalities that have been through some shit, that got fucking, rocks for knuckles type people that can handle, tragedy and horrendous things without taking it out on anyone else. But there's a lot of people who can't. A lot of people who cannot do that shit. And he might be one of them, right? Someone who's just once again, close his eyes and swing his fist and hopes he hits someone or something to feel like some sort of cathartic experience of, now I can finally rest, I can emotionally rest, right? So now, no one, as far as I understand, of these peaceful protesters are calling for the killing of anyone. The shooter himself, as far as I understand, if I had to guess, was way mentally off. And maybe time will help this dude out. The Jonathan guy on screen here. Maybe time will help him out. But we don't have time to wait for that. Like, it should almost be like, all right, I get it. Your emotional reaction, we get that. You're not like a Batman type, like someone who can just handle these things and try to do the right thing anyways. He might be, once again, if I'm taking him on the surface, everything at surface level shit, maybe you can't emotionally handle the situation. Thus, I'd be like, man, you shouldn't play a part in what's happening on college campuses domestically. You should have no part in regards to what's happening in Gaza, what the Israeli military is doing. You should almost have, like, because you're going to scream for fucking heads, it seems like. Possibly. Who knows? Once again, well, yeah, that's unfair to say. I'll say that. That's unfair to say. Who knows where he's at in regards to any type of violence. But the claim that the, say, Columbia students, because of the looks in their eyes, maybe that's you, man. Maybe you're so caught into a fear state that that's all you see. You end up seeing your own reality because you're not, the weeds are in your vision, right? They're blocking your vision because you're so maybe emotionally distressed or whatever. But all right, let's keep going. Here we go.
And they have called for this. They have called for intifada revolution, which is the same thing he yelled last night.
Okay, they've called for intifada revolution. That does, as far as I understand, does not mean go out and shoot and kill people. As far as I understand, that does not mean that. But this guy, who now I'm getting a little bit more of a scope here, where it's like, okay, you're possibly like conditioned a certain way to where you think a certain way automatically when you hear certain words, instead of like, hey, what do you mean? What do you guys mean by that? Because as far as I understand, he hasn't seen any of these guys shoot people or anything like that. Right? And now he's seen it, and now he's like, these guys were going for that the whole time. They've been screaming for this. It's like, how come they don't just do it themselves? Once again, if you just ask simple, epistemological, logical fucking questions, he's going to end up in a tongue twister with nowhere to really go. But once again, as I said before, a child, like when you're emotionally hurt, and it skews your vision. You can't see clearly because you're so emotionally in a place. I mean, when I talk to people, sometimes people do get, or I've talked to people where they get emotional about this or that. I'm like, hey, you want to be immune from that? I always ask that question. Like, you want to be immune from shit like that? Not that it's not turning off your emotions. Emotions are beautiful. They're human. They're fine. They're healthy. They're divine, even if I can. But to be able to navigate and sit within an emotional state while also keeping your other faculties is extremely important if you're trying to go out into the world and be a do-gooder, right? If you're trying to make the world a better place, or if you're just trying to live your life, it's probably better to navigate with clear eyes than, swelled up tears where you can't see anything. Nothing wrong with crying either. I'm just saying, like, metaphorically speaking, where your vision is blurred and you can't see what's in front of you. Right? But, yeah. He's in that state. Of course, there's no wisdom at CNN. I mean, well, I guess their idea is to get a witness on there, right? That's probably their main goal. Get a witness on. But they should maybe consider the emotional state of the person. I don't know. Maybe consider that. And once again, CNN, he's going to fly on CNN. But if he was around me, I'd have to let him know. But yeah, I understand what this is what this smells like, man. Unless you have documented proof of, like, this is what's actually happening, you're just being emotional. Like, it's okay to be emotional. You're letting one aspect of yourself cloud another aspect of yourself. If I take this guy for on the surface, once again, he could be an actor for all I know. I don't fucking know the guy. All right, he could be full of shit. I just don't start with someone's just full of shit. unless I intuitively feel so, then I'll let you know, But all right, let's keep going. So we went from witnessing a shooting to full-blown. The college kids in Colombia are the blame for this, or anybody protesting these things, or anyone that uses the word intifada or revolution, even though they can mean full-bore peaceful revolution. They could mean that. He's still blanket terming all of them probably because of fear and emotional distress. But all right, here we go.
Do you worry that there will be a conflation, though, of the two, those people who are speaking their mind, who really care about what is happening in Gaza, and those people who are like this person who did this horrific shooting, who intend to do harm?
A conflation. I mean, they are calling for intifada. At Columbia University, they call for intifada constantly. They're not quietly. They're loud. They're loud. You can hear it.
Yes, they're very loud. Because I don't think because what they mean by it, I don't think means let's kill Jews. I don't think they mean that. So, yeah. Once again, but that's just seeming like more so the conditioning, right? Maybe he's around people that tell him like, yo, these are the guys to look out for. This word means this. When you see this, run. When you see this, be scared. For sure, that can happen. Thus, I mean, I think a good tell it would be sometimes like a childlike reaction. It's like just very shakenly emotional, right? Because it calls back to something they maybe learned a long time ago. Well, who knows? That could happen at any stage of life. But there's definitely, I mean, on the surface, emotionally triggered by all this, and also just seeing someone fucking, this guy fucking killed someone. Like fuck, I'm around the area. What the fuck? I could have died. Right? I could have died for no reason or whatever. But nonetheless, still, he's still wrong. I think it's still very wrong. And it's like so wrong that it might reflect someone who isn't just emotionally reacting, who isn't, some sort of fearful state. They just want to do propaganda. But yet he's expelling the same thing. And we'll see later on, but here we go.
They make recordings of themselves. So what's the difference?
Are you afraid?
Well, here's the difference. One's shooting someone and one's not. There's your difference. Clear as day difference. Clear as day difference. But anyways.
Yes.
What
We're
will you
all
do
afraid.
about that?
Everyone should be afraid.
He's clearly afraid.
What are you doing to try to make yourself feel safer?
Well, okay, you just go on and live your life. I'm a New Yorker. I remember 9/11. You can't let them make you be afraid. You have to go on. You have to live your life, and hopefully your government does things to protect you. Last night, our government failed us.
Once again, makes no sense, right? But he's like kind of childlike emotional reacting to the situation. Like your government failed you? Like how the fuck would that'd almost be scary if the government knew that guy was gonna, I don't know where he came. He might have been living in D.C. at the time. I don't know if he flew from Chicago. He apparently had an apartment in Chicago. So maybe he flew to D.C. just to do that. And it's like, I don't know how the fuck the government would know any of that unless they're full-blown spying on all of us the whole time, which may be the case, but once again, it's just like, why don't you just do something? Like, it's like an impossible scenario, even if the government meant all the wellness in the world, even if they're the most righteous, protect the people of all time. I don't see how feasible that is. But once again, childlike emotional reaction to something. They don't see, if I take them at face value, they're just not seeing reality. It's just too emotionally distressed. And I think a lot, in my opinion, is a lot of that's coming from conditioning, seemingly. Of like pre-prepared fear instead of, I mean, it still could be genuine genuine fear, but it's still connected to a psychological idea that's probably been impressed upon him a while ago, seemingly. But all right, here we go.
Jonathan Epstein, I know that they are going forward with this. There is expected to be charges in this case. We will see what happens, but I know you'll be watching, and we'll talk to you again as this goes forward. Thank you so
All right, so that's the thank yous and goodbyes. But maybe he says something.
much, and I'm sorry that you had to witness what you did. Kate?
Okay. Just thank you for having me. Okay, so we see there the childlike emotional reaction to something, and it's almost like I'd want him to, like, you know, find that still point before you say anything. All right. Once again, these things, if you have a situation where, let's say, once again, if we eliminate the Free Palestine yell from the guy, right? Like, for all we know, it could have been a random act of violence. I question whether or not this guy would be like, it's anti-Semitism. Meanwhile, the guy might not even know if they're Jewish or not. He might just see, like, that's a nice suit. This guy got money. Rob him. Right? But, yeah. The Free Palestine thing kind of hasn't explained his motives at all. Once again, people are considering false flags here, which I leave room for, considering all the things we've seen throughout history, and definitely modern history where things are caught on camera. And the way the guy's behaving at the end, I leave room for that, for sure. I can't say I know. I can't even say I think that. I really have no idea. It's wrong either way you look at it, whether false flag or purposely, or someone just, like, going out of their mind and just harming someone on their own. Horrendous either way. But yeah, if I take this guy at face value, all right, and I'm like, okay, this guy is emotionally, like, traumatized by the scenario. He was a witness, maybe not to the shooting itself, but to the guy being there. He's a witness to that. And, you know, in those emotional states where you don't have your bearings, right? You're not, like, that hardened type of person. You're gonna start seeing reality that isn't fucking there because you're like, just emotions too fucking strong, right? Or you don't know how to handle. You haven't, developed maybe a closer relationship with your own emotions to where you can handle those things, right? And you might see, like, okay, the guy yelled Free Palestine, and all of a sudden you just look at him like, okay, those eyes are from Colombia. He might not even have ever witnessed that in his life. He just went with it because, it's because of the fear and feeling of it. He's just like, oh, fuck, he's like the same people at Colombia. Meanwhile, they're absolutely different as far as I've seen. Like, opposites almost. Like, they'd be like, okay, this didn't help. Even based on the whole news stories coming out and shit like that, where people are going to attempt to use this as a way to say, like, well, that's why we're, it's anti-Semitism everywhere. That's why these people are complaining about what's happening in Gaza, right? They'll use that as an excuse, as we're about to see. Just because of that, they'd be like, we don't want any violence. Just for strategic reasons. I would hope it'd be moral, but maybe strategic reasons why they wouldn't want that to happen. Okay, so once again, if we take thought experiment, we take this guy at face value, we hear what he says, and I think my assessment's pretty good. Like, someone with sharp emotional feelings without any type of other faculties, like, working in tandem with the emotions, just emotions with dumb fuck brain popping off, right? The dumb fuck brain that's just like, oh, just, close your eyes and throw the punches, man. Hope you hit someone. We go from that to something where I think it's sinister, purposely using the thing. In fact, they might be happy the thing happened. They might be happy that 2 people were killed and the guy screamed Free Palestine. They might be happy about that because they can use it as some sort of emotional leverage with maybe people like this Jonathan Epstein guy. Maybe you just play with his emotions to get him to join your side or support your cause or whatever the fuck. We take it on the surface. And like, these are the real guys. Like, both you have to look out for, but you have to be honest with your assessments. I can't just watch this guy and automatically say, like, oh, look, he works for Netanyahu. He's a narrative spinner. He's a crisis actor, whatever the fuck you come up with, right? And I'm not saying that isn't the case. I'm saying, like, if I take it on the surface, like, hopefully people are doing assessments with all these things they run into, not just straight up denying anyone their humanity. Because I have bigger things to do here. It's more important about Gaza than this shit, so I need to, like, stomp over this person's humanity to get to my objective. Which is the same thing that a guy like this would do. Isn't it? This guy, like, I have an agenda, and I'm willing to stomp on their humanity for the sake of getting some shit done. And I thought the good guys are not supposed to reflect that. Now, once again, if you do investigation and you have evidence of something, you're like, okay, the Jonathan Epstein guy is full of shit. Fair enough. Fair enough. But hopefully you're doing it clear-eyed, right? And it's okay to ask questions. Like, definitely around me. I understand there's some people that will have, the emotional reaction if you even brought it up, right? To where once again, they're in that state, that emotional state where you can't say nothing to them. So, okay, you can't handle that. You're not like one of those hardened people that can handle things and try to dig into evidence, even if it's painful to look at. Got it. You're not one of those hardened people. But for around me, yeah, you should be questioning it. And everything that's happening, or really, actually everything that's happening. I don't mind the questions. Leaping to conclusions, yes, I will push back against that all day and night. But investigating, that's always necessary. Always. Always, always, always. But yeah, the people that are just dismissing that guy, the Jonathan Epstein guy, to me, is the same as what this guy does, which is...
Free Palestine is just today's version of Heil Hitler. Free Palestine is just today's version of Heil Hitler.
I mean, I don't even care if that's out of context, bro. That better be CGI, AI-driven, make-believe, deep-fake, something. Otherwise, if he said that in there is no context needed for that statement right there. That is full of shit. That is probably abusing the deaths of 2 people. The families affected by that. The people that know them affected by it. The guy, Jonathan Epstein, the witness of something. The people that emotionally react to the scenario, maybe they hear Jonathan Epstein talking, like, fuck, man, I feel bad. This guy, in my humble opinion, is abusing that scenario to try to trick people into thinking that Free Palestine means Heil Hitler. And once again, I think it is in the world of politics, it is of the utmost importance to make a diagnosis between someone who's a victim of something or someone who has an emotional reaction to something versus the cunt who will use it to their own advantage. I will reiterate again, the Jonathan Epstein guy, maybe he's full of shit. Maybe he's an actor. Maybe he's working for Netanyahu. Maybe he's working for someone, and he's doing a CNN interview as bullshit. Like, he's just trying to trick people into something. I can't say I know that, but if I take him at face value, like, oh, he's having an emotional reaction to something to where he feels like it's almost like he got shot almost, or someone he loves got targeted, or whatever. And the good old Douglas Murrays will stroll up with their fucking, blanket and hot cocoa and say, don't worry, I'll take care of you. Here's this little blankie. and here's some hot chocolate. To feel better. Don't worry. I'll take care of this. Then they use the deaths of people to their advantage because they're Douglas Murrays. The viper in the room. No offense to vipers. Y'all are cool. These guys ain't. So, I mean, what do I call it? A tale of two cities here? Nah. It's just, I don't know. It just feels like I don't see enough of that assessment. I hear the intellectual back and forth thing, right? Like a T-Lav will do, right? He'll intellectually hop between ideas. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's full shit. Maybe it's for real. Maybe, yeah, question everything, right? Which I appreciate. But the actual, like, in my mind, of like the actual assessing of a scenario, we can go to the levels of like why someone would be so fucking triggered by it. Like people are like, why would you be that you don't even know these guys. You didn't even see the shooting. You just saw the guy's face and you leap to these conclusions. All of a sudden he has the same eyes as someone from Colombia when you went there. And like, damn, these are the same type of people. They're all violent criminals. They either push for it or they did it themselves. They're all the same. Right? Like that guy. Instead of just taking that and saying like, oh, that guy's fucking, working for Netanyahu or working for someone. I just want to showcase, like, it is possible, like, can attempt to do, assessments on even a psychological level, not as some sort of psychiatrist or psychoanalyst, but just like like, using your own dumb guy logic and intuition and your own thought patterns and recognizing maybe something you see in someone else that you've experienced yourself or something like that. I don't think that needs to be thrown away. It doesn't mean you run out, like, I'm not going to run off a cliff saying, like, I know this guy's emotionally, he was conditioned at a young age. He's having an emotional reaction to this, and now he's swinging his fist like a child. I'm not going to go out there and just say, like, this is the case. But questioning it should definitely be something, and trying to make an assessment should definitely be something we do. Because we're doing it anyways. We're doing it anyways. If you watch the first guy, the Jonathan Epstein guy, and you watch him and you get an emotional reaction from hearing him talk, you're like, oh, fuck. That means part of you, like, believes him or says, like, this is possible. Now just trace the roots of that empathetic chain connected to that guy, to your own emotions. Like, look at the links of the chain. And there you go. There's your assessment. But people pretend like that. They're not doing that anyways. And they just say, oh, they're all full of shit, or it's all true. That's when everyone loses, right? The person who's like, well, that guy's an actor, and Netanyahu's a fucking Douglas Murray. That sounds like a poor way to try and assess things. Or, if you go with, that guy he is real. That's the real thing. He's really emotional. And Netanyahu, and because of that, Netanyahu is correct. See, that guy screamed "Free Palestine." He had he had the murderous eyes, man. And that guy seen that at Columbia. I believe every word he said. So whenever I hear "Free Palestine," I'm thinking this is some anti-Semitic Nazi shit. That also doesn't sound too healthy to me either. Once again, most people know this, but most people know that already, right? Like, there's nuance to things. It's just I don't know. I think people get too caught up in just the, intellectual gymnastics of trying to figure out every little scenario. I mean, that's important too. It is important. But the actual doing more studying to give yourself more detail, like more details than just the intellectual jibber jabber of, the guy's background, like, here's who we work for, and, like, all that stuff, which is also important. I mean, I don't really go into stuff like that, but if you're investigating that way, fine, that can be important, sure. But I think the actual grounded nature of the way people can behave, I think, is more of where the assessment lies. And it's important to make a distinction. Once again, hypothetically speaking, if the first guy's being for real and this guy's full of shit, if that's the case, it would be very much important to assess these things. And that's for every level of things, strategically or just to be honest. I think honesty itself actually plays a hefty role in authenticity, or in a quote-unquote strategy. It's almost like a strategy on its own, to just be honest about things. Because, once again, someone can walk away thinking that these two are saying the same thing, when maybe they're not. Maybe someone's just emotionally butthurt, and the other guy's like cold-blooded killer. He's gonna just use this scenario to push forward his own agenda. I'm just saying. But there you go. There's my little thought experiment, my little mental jibber jabber, jump around, rambling rant, assessment out the ass, out the wazoo. There it is. There's my little my painted picture, my Picasso. There it is. All right. Don't forget to subscribe if you feel like. Comment, agree, disagree. Tell me what you think. What do you assess this as? What do you think? Think anyone's full of shit here? Do you think anyone's for real here? Is this straight up just propaganda? Is this to distract from Gaza? That doesn't. I can assess all these scenarios, and it doesn't distract me from what's happening over there. But if you're in the game of like, we need to condition the regular people to focus more on this other thing, thus we need to focus more on this other thing, I say, I hope you mean well while you're doing that, because otherwise, you come off like this guy. Right? I need to condition you for my own means. Your, individuality, your agency means nothing. You're too stupid. I'm your parent. Let me condition you in a direction that I like. So hopefully they're doing that while meaning well, if they're doing that. But you tell me in the comment section. Don't forget to share, support, hopefully donate to all the links in the description box. Check them out, read them, share them, then donate. And with all that said, give this video a thumbs down. Killer!
Say you wanna get in.